Welcome back to the Business Forum Show. I'm Kevin Hunter with Amy Nelson, and our special guest on the show today, Larry Yatch from Sealed Mindset. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Thank you.
So give our listeners an idea of what Sealed Mindset does and what your role at the organization is.
I'm the founder and CEO, so I started it. I'm a former Navy SEAL, spent just over 10 years in the SEALs as an officer. I was injured and medically retired. And my wife has a master's degree in international security and anti-terrorism from Georgetown. When we were looking at figuring out what to do after my time in the SEALs, she came up with the concept of being able to create an education company to help individuals as well as corporations stay safe. So that's what Sealed Mindset does.
Sure. Well, very cool. So we chatted a little bit about this before the show. You're doing 140 events a month out of your facility. So give our listeners some idea of what some of these classes are. Let's start first of all with the area in fitness, because that's one of the things that you do. What's a fitness class look like in your company, and to what extent do you go with these?
Everything that we do has something to do or relates back to personal safety or family safety. And so fitness is actually a large portion of that. You can have all of the knowledge and all of the skills to protect yourself, but if you aren't fit or aren't strong enough to be able to do it, you aren't going to be able to perform up to your expectations. So all of our classes are what we refer to as functional defensive fitness. So functional exercises to make sure that you have not only the coordination but the strength to defend yourself, defend your family. We have two different types of fitness classes, actually three that we run. One is based off of CrossFit. CrossFit is a big force in the fitness realm recently, based on high intensity functional fitness. So we have a CrossFit coach come in 5 times a week. Then we have what we refer to as dynamic defensive fitness, which is mixing fighting and shooting into workouts. Because we have a very unique facility, we can do that.
Sure.
And then the last part is yoga. And you think, when you think fitness or especially defensive type stuff, the last you think of is yoga, but being able to have flexibility is critical to speed as well as overall healthy lifestyle.
So explain I'm intrigued here with the fitness, including fighting and shooting. Tell us what one of those courses look like.
So we have a special tool that we use for most of our training, and it's a pistol or a rifle that is the same weight, shape, and feel of actual guns, but all it does is shoot lasers. So it allows us to do things that you couldn't do on a live fire range. So these workouts will generally have one of our instructors, who's a certified personal trainer, will work. It's a small groups, 4 people at the most. We'll work through a series of exercises, almost stations, of which some will be punching things. Other times you'll have the pistol and have to shoot targets on the walls. And then once a month we'll do a live fire version of it. So we'll go on to our actual indoor shooting range, and you'll have high intensity workout with a live fire gun.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm curious, would an event like this, because I'm just seeing the beginning pieces of this, but the gears are turning in my head, and I'm going, could an organization or a company who wants to do some team building type exercise with their people and stuff like that, would something like this or one of the courses that you're teaching in your organization be suitable for that?
Yeah, we run about 20 corporate events every month.
Very cool.
Everything from ones that are based solely on safety, so what we refer to as a violence-free workplace, teaching not only the management but the actual employees how to avoid, mitigate, and respond to a bad situation in the workplace. So that's more of our pure education-based ones. And then we do a whole series of events for corporations on team building. I do a lot of speaking about my experience in combat as well as in the SEALs, as well as we do client appreciation type events where it'd be a unique event where you can bring a series of clients and not only have the effect that they learn something that can help them in their regular lives, but have a really good time as well.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the firearms training that you do in your organization, and this includes the carry concealed, which you said is kind of the end part of teaching people, first of all, how to use firearms and all that kind of good stuff. Talk about that a little bit. And we had some conversation beforehand, because I mentioned that in some cases, or I was actually made aware of this by police officers all the way back in the early 90s that people that aren't properly trained with their own firearms, there's potential that the bad guy could use their own gun on themselves. And you said, think about it. Has there been any stories out there that you recall? And of course, we couldn't think of any. And so talk about, first of all, your firearms training a little bit, and then visit about the importance of knowing how to use a gun to maintain your personal safety.
Well, I guess the best way I can explain it is to liken it to driving. So in order to defend yourself, you have to be able to make instantaneous decisions without thought in a complex 360-degree environment under the threat of death. Mm-hmm. That seems impossible for most people. Well, if you drive, that's what you do every single day. Mm-hmm. On the road, you have to make instantaneous decisions, execute complex skills without thought under the threat of death. You're more likely to get in a car wreck than ever get mugged. Mm-hmm. So anyone can learn how to do these complex things. It's just a matter of learning how to do it. So knowledge-based cognitive learning, understanding the process, understanding the specific skills, then practicing it, and then experiencing it. And if you can drive, you can learn to defend yourself. It really isn't that challenging, but it takes time. So what we did that is unique in this environment is split our training out over regularly scheduled classes. So instead of coming for one day trying to learn everything in 8 hours, what you do is come on a regular basis. That's why we have so many classes. We have about 80 hour-and-a-half classes every month, morning, noon, and night, weekday, weeknight. So it doesn't matter when you show up. You sign up for a monthly fee, and then you have access to all of these classes. So it works on anyone's schedule.
You know, what's really interesting when you mentioned about that it's something that you could learn, just like learning to drive. There was an experience that I had years ago, and I noticed here as well that you have martial arts training in your facility. And there's a story I want to share with you real quickly, which was a personal experience of mine. I've done a fair amount of martial arts training in two different, both Taekwondo and in Tang Soo Do Karate. I got my black belt in Tang Soo Do Karate, and then later took some Taekwondo. I had a really lousy instructor, so that's why I dropped it. Because after working with somebody good, you know the difference. And this other instructor, even though he was third-degree black in Taekwondo, it was just the technique and everything was just very sloppy, and his attention to detail was very sloppy, and I just lost interest and quit. But I'll have to come check your facility out. But I have to share this with you. This was several years ago, and I was right in the middle, the heat of my training with martial arts. And we had a large construction company. It was out in Michigan. And I got called by the front office and told me that one of the customers had just called in and was ballistic irate. And I was like, well, I got a hold of the person, called them. I could tell they were very disturbed. I drove to the job site to go see what the problem was. And this guy was so angry. He was shaking. And, I, without even thinking about it, I walked into this garage. He wanted me to see this wall that had a problem with it. But there were shovels, wrenches, like all this stuff hanging around. And this whole time he's telling me, I should just, and he's like shaking. I could tell he wants to like knock my head off. He's so angry. And it wasn't until I drove away from the job site, and I actually called my martial arts instructor to share this with him. And I said, Mike, the training works and I just explained this whole situation. And what made me recognize it is that as I was driving away, that my hands were not shaking on the wheel. And I told Mike, I said, I realized afterwards that I was actually in control of the situation the whole time, because if this guy had taken a shovel or a wrench off the wall, every place he moved, I knew where I was going to hit him to put him down if I had to. And I maintained my proximity with him the whole time, because I was like, I'm not letting him get beyond arm's length from me. So when he stepped and walked away from me, I was right. And that probably, when I think about it, it was probably both calming for him and disarming in a way, because every time he turned around, I was like right there. He's probably wondering, what's wrong with this guy? I'm ticked at him, but yet he's like right here, kind of in my space. What's wrong with him? And I didn't realize that I was just doing it unconsciously, because aware that he was a threat to my safety, and I was ready to take care of him. Yeah. if he tried to harm me. And so, no, I can totally relate to that, and I understand. It makes perfect sense. There's another piece that I want to go back to just briefly, and you mentioned about fitness, and part of the reason you're focusing on this is that martial arts and training and learning to defend yourself are important skills to have, but if you're not fit enough to perform the things, obviously I was and capable of taking care of myself. But great points. We'll be back here in just a moment with Larry Yatch from Sealed Mindset. The organization can be found on the web, sealedmindset.com. You can also call them at 877-723-7573. Again, 877-723-7573. Kevin Hunter on the Business Forum Show. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.